Today's lesson is about active and passive voice. So, if you want to learn how to identify active and passive voice in sentences and change the voice in the sentences, do watch this video. For all those who are new here, I'm Melaine from English Made Easy. I'm an English teacher, and this channel is dedicated to creating easy and interesting lessons so that you can improve your English in an enjoyable way. In this lesson today, I will teach you the difference between active and passive voice and show you how you can easily identify them. I will give you a special tip to help you remember the difference. And when you have learned that tip, I assure you, you will never ever get the identification of active and passive voice in sentences wrong. Ever. So pay careful attention during this video and try and learn everything that is in it. Then I will show you the structure of both active and passive voice and the changes that occur in verb forms and pronouns. I have some phenomenal tips for you right through the video. And if you follow those tips, you will never get anything wrong in this topic. By the end of the lesson, you will be thorough in how to change from active to passive voice and passive voice to active voice. I'm sure that is what you are here for, isn't it? At the end of the lesson, at the very end of the lesson, I also have a mini quiz for you to see how well you have understood the lesson. So, this is going to be one extensive lesson, but a simple one. And if you follow it very carefully from start to finish, you would have gained a lot, and it will help you to understand active and passive voice very well, and you will never get anything wrong in this topic. I assure you that. But you must make sure that you understand it very well. So if there is any part of the video that you do not understand, please pause, play it again, go through it all over again and see that you understand each part of the video before you go on to the next part. That is my only request. Apart from that, if you have understood the entire video, then you can follow the tips that I give you right through. And at the end of the lesson, do the little quiz that I have for you and see if you can get everything right. If you can, then you have mastered this lesson. And I assure you that you can master this lesson if you do everything that I have just told you to do. But first, before we begin with the lesson, please subscribe to English Made Easy. Subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so. I'll tell you why. Because if you subscribe to my channel, then you will receive many similar lessons to help you along the way. I will help you to improve your performance in your tests and exams. And if you need help in any particular topic, all you need to do is ask, and I will reach out to you. I will prepare simple lessons like this one for you to understand the topic better. Okay, so we're ready to begin. But before I begin, before I share my screen with you and start with the lesson, do subscribe, please, right now. Thank you. And let's begin. Are you ready to begin? Are you ready to pay very careful attention? That's good. So we are going to start with active and passive voice. And this lesson will cover several things. So if you want to take a break after each part of it, please go ahead and do so. After each part, you can pause the video, go and get yourself a cup of tea or coffee, something to eat, and then continue. but make sure that you understand every part before you move on to the next. Okay? So this lesson will cover first of all what is active and passive voice, because you need to understand exactly what it is before you move on. The structure of a sentence in active voice and the structure of a sentence in passive voice. How to identify active and passive voice. Changes in verb forms, the changes that have to happen. Changes in pronouns. See, if you have a noun in the sentence, then it is very easy. All you need to do is write the noun either way. If you're changing from active to passive voice, write the same noun there. If you are changing from passive to active voice, you write the same noun. But if it is a pronoun, then the pronoun changes. And I will show you how it changes. How to change imperative, interrogative, and complex sentences. Now, this part is a little tricky. Some useful tips to help you, and not just at the beginning of the video or the end of the video, but right through. So please watch it very carefully. A mini quiz to help you test your learning, which will happen at the end of this video. Are you ready to begin? The first part. What is active voice? In active voice, the subject of the sentence acts on the object of the sentence. Now, if you have to understand what I am saying here, you need to know what is the subject and what is the object in a sentence. If that is not clear to you, you cannot move on. So let's do that first. Suppose you have a sentence like this. The lion ate the mouse. The lion ate the mouse. So you have a subject in the sentence, you have an object in the sentence, and then you have other parts of the sentence as well, like you have to have a word showing action, which is a verb, which is in different forms. You have to have one part here and another part here, and then you can have a definite or an indefinite article, like in this case, or anything else like adjectives, adverbs, okay, other parts of a sentence. But this is the basic structure of a sentence. You will have a subject, an object, and a verb. So in this case, what is the subject? The lion is the subject. And what is the object? The mouse is the object. So as you can see very clearly in this sentence, the lion ate the mouse. So the subject of the sentence acts on the object of the sentence. The subject is doing something to the object. The lion ate the mouse. An active voice is a direct way to give information. It's a simple, concise, crisp way of giving information to someone. The lion ate the mouse. If I tell you something like that, the lion ate the mouse, there is no way that you will misunderstand what I'm saying. It's just so simple and so direct, isn't it? The lion ate the mouse. Who ate the mouse? The lion ate the mouse. So simple. Such a short sentence, such an easy sentence, such a crisp sentence. So it is active voice. What is the structure of active voice? You have a subject, you have the action, which is the verb, and you have the object. Subject plus action plus object. That is active voice. I hope that's very clear to you, because if it isn't, don't move forward. Watch this part of the video again, then move forward. What is passive voice now? In passive voice, the subject is the recipient of the verb's action. In this case, you will have the object first in the sentence and then the subject. Look at this. The mouse was eaten by the lion. If you remember the previous sentence that I gave you in active voice, it said, the lion ate the mouse. And now I've put lion last in the sentence and I've put mouse first in the sentence. So the subject The subject, which is the lion, is the recipient of the verb's action. So the subject, which is the lion, is receiving the action. What action? Being eaten. Okay? By the mouse. So the mouse was eaten by the lion. That is passive voice. So what is the subject here and what is the object here? The object is the mouse. The subject is the lion. So as you can see in passive voice, the object is first, the subject is last. This is how the structure of passive voice is. Object plus action, which is the verb, plus subject. You have the object plus action plus subject. All right? The subject is passive. Passive voice is an indirect way to give information. It is something that native speakers use when they speak informally. It is something that you would read in a newspaper. Reporters use passive voice a lot because they are reporting things, they are telling you something that has happened. Okay, it is not direct. Now, if you remember the first example that I showed you of active voice, it said the lion ate the mouse. And look at this sentence here, the mouse was eaten by the lion. Which one is shorter? Active voice, right? The sentence in active voice is definitely shorter. Which one is easier to understand? Active voice. Correct? Which one has the subject first? Active voice. Correct? Which one has by in the sentence? Passive voice. Look here. Okay? So we have completed active voice and passive voice. If you have understood so much so far, then notice also that when you change from active to passive voice, the verb form changes too. For example, the lion ate the mouse becomes the mouse was eaten by the lion. It can't stay as ate because if it stays as ate, the meaning of the sentence will change and it will be completely wrong. For example, if I say the lion ate the mouse, you know what I mean? A huge big lion eating a small tiny mouse. Now, if I change it and write the object first, like in this case, the mouse, and I write the subject last, like I'm supposed to do in passive voice, but I forget to change the verb form, you know what it will read like? The mouse ate the lion. Now, that is totally wrong, isn't it? The mouse did not eat the lion ate the mouse. So, if I don't change the verb form like this, the meaning of the sentence will change because I'm interchanging the object and the subject. If you see this big X I'm making on the screen, the object here is becoming the subject here is becoming the object. Now, because I'm doing that, I have to change the verb form. Have to, compulsory. If I don't change the verb, like I showed you, the meaning of the sentence will change and it will be completely incorrect. I cannot say the mouse ate the lion. I hope you followed what I mean. And if you have, let's move on. If the sentence has pronouns, then the pronoun will change. Like I told you in the beginning of this lesson, if there is a noun in the sentence, the name of a person, like Rita, Raj, Amir, Angad, a name, then the name will stay the same whether it is active voice or passive voice. Whether you are changing from active to passive voice or passive to active voice, that name will change this, it will not change at all, it will stay the same. But if you have a pronoun, and I'm presuming you know what a pronoun is, a pronoun is a word that is used in place of a noun. So if a sentence does not have a noun, it will have a pronoun. What are pronouns? I, he, she, we, they. These are all pronouns. Now, the pronouns in active voice will change when you use them in passive voice. And the pronouns in passive voice will change when you use them in active voice. So be careful of that. Okay? While you pay attention to the changes from active to passive voice, you have to also pay attention to the verb. Like I told you a little while earlier, the verb form has to change. And also remember that the pronoun has to change. Has to change. How will it change? I becomes me. He becomes him. She becomes her. We becomes us. They becomes them. Is all this clear to you? If it isn't, please take a break, get yourself a cup of tea, play the first part of the video again, make sure you're thorough in it, and then proceed. A few tips to help you identify sentences in the active voice. Now, here come the tips. Are you ready to listen to them and remember them? The subject appears first in the sentence. Now, if it is active voice, you will see the subject first and the object last. So look for that first. The subject acts on the object. The sentence is direct, crisp, short, and clear, easy to understand. And if it is like that, it's definitely in the active voice. A few tips to help you identify sentences in the passive voice now. There are quite a few tips. Are you ready? 6 tips for you to remember. If the sentence is written in the passive voice, the object appears first in the sentence. Object and then subject. The subject is passive. The sentence usually has helping verbs or auxiliary verbs like is, are, was, were in it. Okay? The sentence has the word by in it 99% of the time. That 1% you don't really need to worry about. It appears like a bystander is reporting something. So if you hear a sentence where you feel like someone is reporting something, like a reporter is telling you about something that has happened, then it's definitely in the passive voice. And if the sentence is in the passive voice, the sentence is longer, not direct or crisp. A little more complicated, a little harder to understand. If you got these tips right, you have understood them, and you remember them, then let's proceed. See if you can identify which of the following statements are in the active voice and which ones are in the passive voice before we proceed. So, the first part of this lesson, if you have understood it thoroughly, you should be able to get all 5 of these sentences right. And if you can, then I will feel victorious. I'll feel, wow, I have done a good job explaining it. So please get them all right and make me happy. So look at it carefully. I will give you a few tips to help you. Now, what did we learn about active and passive voice? What were the tips I just gave you? Think. The most obvious ones. Look for sentences that are shorter, and they will most probably be written in the active voice. So, can you see the shorter sentences here? And can you see longer ones? So, how many of them are shorter? 3? Correct. How many of them are longer? 2? All right. Now, by first glance, you will notice that the first, third, and fourth are most probably active voice, and the second and fifth are most probably passive voice. Now let's identify them a little better. Suppose you are right and the first, third, and fourth are written in the active voice. Then let's go a little deeper into it. Are they direct sentences? Are they crisp? He wore a sweater. Is the subject first or is the object first? Look at the third one. She ate a burger. Is it direct? Is it crisp? Is the subject first and the object written later? What about the fourth one? I drove a car. Is the subject first? Is the object later? Then look at the second one. Now, according to the first glance that we had, it appeared that the second and the fifth are written in passive voice. Let's confirm that. The carpenter was called by the owner. So, is it a longer sentence? Does it have a helping verb in it? Does it have the object first and then the subject? Does it have the word by in it? Hold that thought. Come to the fifth one. The dogs are fed by my grandmother. Do the same thing now. Is it a longer sentence? Does it have the object first and then the subject? Does it have a helping verb? Is, are, was, were? Does it have the word by in it? Okay, now I think you would have been absolutely sure of your answers. So let's check and see if you got them right. Like I said, please make me happy and get all five right. And if you haven't got all five right, pause the video. Learn the first part of this video first before you proceed. Okay, let's check your answers. The first one is definitely active voice. Second is passive voice. Third is active voice. Fourth is active voice. Fifth is passive voice. If you got 5 on 5, yay, that's really great. And if you did not, oh no, I'm so sad. Please pause the video, take a break, and go over the first part of the video all over again. Those who got 5 on 5, let's proceed. You are great. Now, this is how the verb tenses have to change. Please pay very careful attention. If you have a verb in the sentence that is written in the simple present tense, like she speaks Hindi, it will change to Hindi is spoken by her. Okay, as you can see, the helping verb is very much there. Don't forget that this happens, the object becomes the subject becomes the object, the pronoun changes, so she changes to her. By is introduced in the sentence because it is in passive voice, and the verb has to change exactly like this. If it does not change, it doesn't make sense, you will get your sentence wrong. I cannot say Hindi speaks by her. Wrong English. I have to say Hindi is spoken by her. Got that? Another useful tip before we move on. In the present and past continuous tense, the word being is used. So you can remember that. If you get the verb in the present continuous tense or the past continuous tense, use the word being in the passive voice. All right? You know what I mean by continuous tense? That means the action is taking place. Continuous action. The action hasn't stopped. Okay? In the present continuous tense, like I just told you, the word being will be used. See that? So the first change that you have to see is the object becomes the subject and the subject becomes the object. And then there is no pronoun here. Mother is written there. So lucky for you, you don't change the pronoun, you just write mother there. Then you change the verb form. It is in the present continuous tense, is cooking. So you write is being cooked. Okay, so mother is cooking dinner changes to dinner is being cooked by mother. Another useful tip before we go on. I told you I was going to have a lot of useful tips for you. The word been is used in the present, past, and future perfect tense. If you have the present perfect tense, past perfect tense, or the future perfect tense, the word been will be there. You have to use it. I'll show you how. The present perfect tense. Can you see the word been? Okay. Now, first of all, you do what I told you to do. You make the object into the subject. You change the pronoun. You make the subject into the object. And because it's a pronoun, change it. They becomes them. After that, don't forget to add by. Then change the tense. So have bought becomes have been bought. So I'll read it to you. They have bought 3 dogs becomes 3 dogs have been bought by them. Let's move on. Suppose you have the simple past tense. Look, the Christmas tree is the object, you make it the subject, the Christmas tree. He is the subject, you make it the object, and you change it to him because it is a pronoun. Don't forget to add by and change the verb from decorated to was decorated. Easy? If you have the past continuous tense, continuous, I told you what word you have to use when you have a continuous tense? Being. All right, don't forget those tips because they are the ones that are going to help you to get all your sentences right in all your tests and exams. So remember these tips very carefully. So I have the subject here, which is she, and it's a pronoun. So when I make it the object in the passive voice, I have to change she to her, change the pronoun. Then I have the object, which is the dog. So I'm going to make it the subject here. Cross, that's the cross. Don't forget to add by, like I said, and change the verb form. Was feeding becomes were being fed. She was feeding the dogs becomes the dogs were being fed by her. Let's move on. The past perfect tense. So, what's happening here? The very same thing. Only thing you have to pay attention to is the tenses, how they change each time. So, you have they, which is the subject, which now becomes the object, and you change it because it's the pronoun. They becomes them. You have the object here, which is the mall, which now becomes the subject, the mall. And then you don't forget to add by, and had visited becomes had been visited. I told you you have to add the word been for the past perfect tense. Don't forget the tips. So they had visited the mall becomes the mall had been visited by them. The future simple tense. Now we've moved on to the future tense. The future simple tense, same thing more or less, only the tenses you have to be careful with. So we is the subject, which is again a pronoun. So we becomes the object and you change we to us. Him is the object, it becomes the subject, and you have to change the pronoun because it's a pronoun again over here. Don't forget to add by and change the verb from will visit to will be visited. So we will visit him becomes he will be visited by us. The future perfect tense. Same thing. She is the subject. When she becomes the object in the passive voice, you change she to her. The test is the object, it becomes the subject. So the test. See the cross? Don't forget to add by. And then will have answered becomes will have been answered. Been is added there, like I told you to. So she will have answered the test becomes the test will have been answered by her. Got it? Of course, there are imperative sentences which are a little more tricky. So you will find something like this: write the letter. Now, write the letter seems so confusing. How on earth are you going to change that to the passive voice? Well, this is how you change an imperative sentence. You add the word let in front of the sentence. That's all you need to. Once you have added this word let, then your sentence will be correct. Write the letter. So you just have to say, let the letter be written. Change the verb form like you would have changed it anyway. Do not cross the road. So the road has to come first. The crossing part has to go last. See the verb there? Don't forget to write the word let. Do not cross the road becomes let the road not be crossed. Why not? Because not is written there. If there was no not there, and only cross the road was written there, then you would say, let the road be crossed. Okay, but since not is there, it's a negative sentence. You have to add not in the passive voice as well. What about if you have an interrogative sentence, a question with a question mark at the end of it? That could be tricky too. Have you read the book becomes has the book been read by you? So, book comes in the beginning, the verb read goes there, and you is the subject, so it goes at the end, of course. But look how we do the rest of the changes. Have, has. Have you read the book? Has the book been read by you? Let's go to a complex sentence. That's also complex. I know that he wrote the letter. Now, the letter has to come before he has to come at the end. Wrote has to change to was written. But then now we have another verb too, and we have to change it. Okay? So I know that he wrote the letter becomes it is known to me that the letter was written by him. These last three are a little more tricky to understand, and I would suggest that you actually concentrate on the other ones and don't concentrate so much on these ones. These are a little tricky and need a little more um understanding. Okay? If you have understood the entire lesson, let's do this mini quiz and see if you can get them all right. Okay, so I have 8 sentences here. Are you ready? Change the following sentences from the active to the passive voice. Each one of them are an active voice. Let me see how you're going to change them to passive voice. I eat a sandwich. I have tried and used all different verb forms, different kinds of pronouns so that you can get used to different things. Let's see if you can get them right. I eat a sandwich. What does that become? A sandwich is eaten by me. Okay? He does not drink tea. What does that become? Tea is not drunk by him. They are buying a car. A car is being bought by them. He has read 2 books. 2 books have been read by him. They built a boat. A boat was built by them. I was filling a jug. A jug was being filled by me. I had read the book. The book had been read by me. They will sing a song. A song will be sung by them. Tell me, how many did you get right? Out of 8? Even if you got 7 out of 8, I'm satisfied. If you haven't, I really urge you to watch the video again and learn how to change it before you attempt this exercise all over again. I also have another part of this quiz. Don't go away. Change the following sentences from the passive to the active voice now. What you did earlier was changing from active to passive voice. Now let's see if you can change from passive to active voice, the other way around. Okay, 7 sentences. Let's see if you can get at least 6 of them right. The decision will be taken by him. How does that change? He will take the decision. The flower had been touched by her. She had touched the flower. The cats were being fed by Raj. Raj was feeding the cats. The wine was tasted by customers. Customers tasted the wine. A pizza has been eaten by me. I have eaten a pizza. Cricket is not being played by them. They are not playing cricket. A letter is written by him. He writes a letter. Tell me, did you get at least six right? At least six. If not, like I said, please go back and watch the video all over again till you know every part of it very well. I hope you found this lesson useful, and if you did, I'm looking for a thumbs up from you. If there is anyone else who you think might benefit from this lesson, do share it with them and practice as much as you can. The more you practice, the better you become. Okay? And you will definitely do well in your test. I wish you all the very best. Do well. And until we meet again, take care and bye.